So chances are you click on this video because you want to be the best Black Panther in Marvel Rivals. You've probably looked at his abilities and were very overwhelmed with all the vibranium shit going on. But don't worry, your boy vpizz is gonna show you some tips, how his abilities work, some combos, and how you should be playing Black Panther. So without further ado, let's get straight into the guide. Now, the first thing I want to cover is his passive. Black Panther's passive is that the more damage that he takes, the more damage that he does. This honestly goes really well with Black Panther's playstyle, as he's going to be in everybody's face very often. And if you're low, you're always going to be doing way more damage. And you might be worrying about that, but Black Panther actually has a lot of survivability, as he is one of the few characters besides Punisher that has 300 HP, and he gains overshield when dashing marked targets, which I'll get into more detail in just a second. And then besides that, his second ability or passive, I would personally say, is his wall climb slash double jump. Basically, you have to wall climb first to gain the ability to double jump, and this double jump is on a 3-second cooldown. It's kind of non-existent since you just have to climb up the wall, and accounting that and then being able to jump, you'll have it back pretty often, so you can kind of spam this whenever you want. Now, looking at the meat and potatoes, this might seem a little daunting seeing all the vibranium marks, sprint rend, and bonus health and all that, but it's honestly a lot more simpler than you think. To make it very simple, his shift slash sprint rend is the core of Black Panther's kit, and if you don't have this available, you're kind of useless until it comes back. But don't worry, there's 3 ways that you can get this back and basically have 100% uptime on it if your cooldown management is right. The first way we're going to go over is the spear, and this spear deals damage and puts a mark on them. This mark lasts for around 5 seconds, and the spear is pretty forgiving and can mark multiple targets at once, and is going to be your main engagement tool every time. You can hold up to 2 charges, and if you expend both of them, it takes around 6 seconds to get each one back. Moving on to his E, it's just called the spinny kick, and it's basically another way to mark targets and also does some damage. Now, the core part of his kit is the spirit rend, or what I like to call the Genji dash. Now, this one is a bit different to Genji's dash if you play Overwatch, whereas this one doesn't refresh on kill, but it refreshes every time you hit a marked target. So theoretically, if you play their cooldowns right and mark the targets before you start dashing, you can have an infinite amount of dashes compared to Genji. Please add this to Overwatch. Now, when you dash these marked targets, you also gain overshield, and this will really help in your survivability and helps you play into your passive, as the lower health you are, you do more damage, and you can kind of keep yourself up with all these overshields. But let's say that you mess up and fuck up your dash. Well, there's actually a way to just get it back straight up, and that's going to be your ultimate, the Bast Descent. This ultimate marks all the targets in front of you, so just an AoE ultimate doing a set amount of damage, and gives you your dash back. So you can instantly dash out of your ultimate into all the marked targets and repeat the whole process again if you screw up. Now, the last ability I do want to mention is his team up ability, being Wakandan Master. This ability is basically Tracer's recall from Overwatch, to where when activated, it will send you 5 seconds back to your previous position while also gaining bonus health based on your missing health, about 50% of it. This is, however, on a 30-second cooldown, so use this sparingly and wisely. And while this is a pretty good add-on to Black Panther's abilities, I wouldn't say this is a needed team up compared to Magneto and Scarlet Witch. Now, with all that being said, how do you want to combo all these abilities together? Well, do you remember when I said that the spear is going to be your main engagement tool?
No.
Well, that's what we're going to be starting with every single time before we engage on a target, as engaging someone without a target doesn't let you escape, have good burst damage, and you kind of just lose your dash. Now, for the combo, you usually want to start off with the spear, then you want to dash 180 with a melee, then do a whirlwind kick and another melee, and finishing it off with a dash. All this added up actually puts a lot of burst damage on whoever you're jumping and adds up really quickly. Now, eventually there will be some times where you just kind of screw up and you just have to resort to your melees, and you might be wondering, what do you just do? Well, to give you the answer optimally, your primary fire melee will do way more DPS than your other bound ground melee. Now, I do want to mention that comboing these together isn't too bad since they kind of do the same thing and have a similar time to kill when you're using only primary. But honestly, if you don't have any of your abilities, just don't go in. Moving on from that, I have a couple of tips for the dash and the spear. With the spear, if someone decides to jump you, you can throw the spear at the floor, and because it does AoE damage, anyone next to you will be marked and you can get your overshield and dash back at the same time. And then for the dash, if you're going against someone like Loki, you can actually mark his clones, and if you dash into them, it will count as a player. So if you need someone to hold a mark for you so that you have a guaranteed way out, you can do that. But keep in mind that someone like Hulk or Magneto that gives themselves a bubble or overshield, if they have a mark and you dash into them, you lose it. Now that you learn about what Black Panther can do, let me teach you how to actually play him in a real game. Now, the one thing you need to know is that his playstyle is of the flanker playstyle. So, you know, being a bit annoying and seeking opportunities as usual. And Black Panther has a bit of mobility with his wall climb double jump, and you can use his dash and his whirlwind kick to get to places too. And you really must not forget about his wall climb, as this allows you to have like a eagle eye view of the whole battlefield, and you can kind of just drop on people without them knowing. As you can see in a lot of these clips, I usually engage looking down on my opponents and then throwing a spear into a dash, then whirlwind kick, and then do the whole combo that I did before, and then sneaking in some melees in there to get some extra damage. A thing you might be noticing is that when you mark targets, you can see them through walls. So if you feel like the angle you're about to engage in isn't right, you can reposition and still see where the opponents are for a couple of seconds. It's really important as Black Panther to abuse his wall climb / double jump, as if you bait people into these tight choke points or something like a doorway, you always are looking down upon them, and the moment that they enter the door, they're always gonna have to take the time to look up while you're already looking at them, giving you the first shot and free damage right off the bat. When you have your ultimate, you can kind of play more aggressive and just expend all your abilities, as you'll get your dash back, and if things get hairy, you can just dash out. Speaking of dashing out, one crucial thing with Black Panther is knowing your limit. What do I mean by that? Well, even though you're dashing in and marking targets and getting your overshield and all that, you can be killed, believe it or not. So this will come with playtime, but you need to read the room of when you just need to burn your dash to get out safely. You can also use your whirlwind kick as well, as this does put you a pretty good distance, and you can change directions with this at the same time. You never ever want to engage a target without your dash, as this is literally what makes Black Panther, and engaging someone without it is basically just asking for death. Now, a reminder to your egoists, if you have your dash but you don't have your whirlwind kick or your spear, just don't do it. And yeah, honestly, that's really it. Even though Black Panther is rated 4-star difficulty, he honestly isn't that hard. It's basically a lot of cooldown management, patience, and looking for opportunities, and making sure that you abuse his mobility to make it a lot easier in finding these targets. And with that, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you learned something new, please feel free to like, sub, and share with any of your friends, and make sure to comment down below if you think Black Panther is strong or does he need buffs. And if you don't want to miss out on any future Marvel rival guides, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. And with all that being said, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Peace and love, baby.